And if you've ever felt constrained by your rigidity of this all or nothing, black and white thinking, this week is for you. Welcome. We are on week 3 in our May Wellness Challenge, and we've got so much blooming around here. We are fully into spring. We've started with building awareness. We went to building release. And now it's time to get flexible, because flexibility is power. Because emotional strength is not emotional control. It's emotional agility. Flexibility is power. A strong nervous system doesn't mean you don't feel stress, disappointment, anger, fear, or uncertainty. It means you don't live in those states. You can feel them without flooding. Adapt without collapsing, shift without spiraling, and recover without attacking yourself. Rigidity swings between overdrive, shutdown, or people-pleasing. It reacts automatically. Flexibility activates when needed, settles when safe, adjusts to context, and returns to baseline faster. That's leadership capacity. That's relational maturity. That is personal power. And emotional agility means you can say, I feel anxious and I can still move forward. I feel disappointed and I can respond calmly. I feel defensive and I can pause before speaking. The emotion doesn't disappear, but it no longer runs the room. If you find yourself ruminating after conflict, avoiding hard conversations, escalating quickly, shutting down when overwhelmed, or interrupting discomfort as danger, that's not weakness. That's protection. But protection is not the same as power. Your nervous system has a window of tolerance, a zone where you can think clearly, feel fully, and respond intentionally. Outside of it, you overact or underreact. This week, we expand the window, and that changes everything. So this week is all about increasing that emotional range. And we can see that in my Key Steps to Live a Happier and Healthier Life, Part 2, Emotional Regulation. We actually go through 8 chapters of getting that, mastering the inner game, that emotional regulated place on lock. Because without that being on lock, all of our past overtakes our present. And as we looked at this grounded presence of mindfulness, we looked at the default mode network, this idea that the brain really seeks an effort for survival homeostasis. So whatever our mind does at rest, it will stay at rest in that space. So in these chronic stress situations, trauma, whatever you want to call it, it's going to stay in those hyper-vigilant alert states. That's why it does it. It's the neuroscience behind it. That's why you can't have shame in the game, because when you've been stressed and ruminating for a long time, you're going to want to stay stressed and ruminating a long time. And so what we're trying to do is create emotional range that pulls us away from this is how it is, so this is what it's going to be, and realize that there can be dualities of truth. That I can be highly stressed and a lot of obligations and feel overwhelmed with everything that's happening in life. And I can regulate and I can be truthful to myself and I can rest and build a default mode network that is relaxed and not pulling on my past and my survival brain. And that's that increased range of motion. And we look at the spectrum of emotion. Now we're in chapter 2 of that book. And we see that emotional mastery is in the center between these opposing sides of shutting down and overexpression. And we get locked in these narratives of what is good and bad, right? And now we're locked in all or nothing. So now we're in the bedrock of our mind. And as we're steaming in that bedrock of our mind, we're pulling on and we're moving around these narratives that are boulders, that implicit message that told us that these were what were good and this is what is bad. These are the binging and the restricting allowances that I give myself, or the punishments. It's not really a reward on binging. It's just all around destructive. And what we do is we find these balance and dualities of truth, and we pull ourselves above the soil through a range of emotions. That shade of gray will do everything for us, realizing that we don't have to be in one place so it defines me in this one way, but really realizing there's a broad scope there. And so that's what we're looking for and what we're going to get curious about this week. And so as we find that range of emotion, what we're going to realize is that we actually can increase our recovery speed, and that leadership lives in this flexibility of recovery. And so I talk a lot about resiliency in my couples masterclass. It's all the same framework, whether you want to thrive in a community with lots of friends, in a couple. The reality is we are not an island, and we need to interact with others. And so as we understand ourselves and our half of the dynamic, we're also realizing that we can affect great change as we interact with others, because the power of neutral says, once we know what we're doing, then the world is our oyster. We can do anything, and we can interact with anybody and achieve success. It's all about knowing and grounding in who you are, and it completely changes how other people are going to interact with you. It's a beautiful thing, and it's all connected. And so the negative dynamic says that when stress comes on, we have very predictable behaviors. And every single person is sitting with 50 to 100 feedback loops right in queue. They're there. They are not going anywhere. You are not special or different. You've got like 50 to 100 pieces of your past layered just right there below the surface. That's really kind of the subconscious. The difference is when you have that mindful presence and you've built these motor memories and you've learned the dualities of truth to be able to create that emotional range, the flexibility and the resiliency and kind of the recovery comes because you know that they're there. Awareness. You lost the judgment that they're there because it's there for everybody. It's survival. It has nothing to do with you. Acceptance. And now what you know what to do with these 50 to 100 feedback loops is you know that they don't define you. Your feelings are not your identity. They're just feelings. They're reactions. They're information and input that may relate to other information and input from the past. And none of it's going to serve you. It's back there in the rear view mirror. Don't put it in the front seat next to you. And as you do that, what you realize is you don't interact with it so quickly. It doesn't spiral so quickly. They don't entangle so quickly. You've given them space. You've got them out of your car. You put them on the side of the road. They're still there. They're still there. They just don't determine you. They don't take over you. And you can create distance between them to know that they're there, but it's not your value. It's not your outcome. And now that we've kind of compartmentalized all of those things and we can have feelings without becoming those feelings. Now what we want to do is be able to have an alignment when stress comes on. And that alignment says that we build the responses that we want. Remember that for every mile of road are 2 miles of ditches, and those ditches are the ruts in your mind that your implicit memory built for survival. It's the reactions you go to every single time, the things you wish you could change about yourself. I wish I didn't yell like that. I wish I was more vocal. I wish I could do things and not feel all this self-doubt. Those are your ruts. And so when we can realize that those ruts are there, what we're doing is we're filling in those ruts. That's where coaching comes in. We'll have a link for a free coaching session, or for a coaching session, free 15-minute consultation. Use it. Use it. For our paid subscribers, you get a free 15-minute consultation every single week. It's a part of your exclusive content to talk to me, to talk to Emma, to better understand the points that we're trying to make and how it directly applies to you. For those who are still getting curious and not ready to invest in their change and their growth journey, we do have coaching sessions for you to get direct insight, an hour with me and Emma, one or the other, to be able to build better insights and see how we can actually build a plan for you to take these concepts this week and expand it even longer. And so we do these weekly challenges, but some people will sit with each challenge for longer, and there's no shame in that game. It's important for you to know where you're at and be present with it. We do a lot of repeating of lessons in different ways, right? We have a whole quarter, that's 3 months, of building this inner CEO. So you see kind of similar lessons, and remember that these are feedback loops. I'm giving you the positive flow feedback loop. So accountability, dedication, purpose comes up a lot. Awareness, acceptance, action comes up a lot. Because these are the core things that we're grounding to. And we ground to these core things and we really bite in and say, oh, it's clicking now. 13 times for adult learners to be able to understand. So it takes time. When something clicks with you and it connects with you, reach out, because that's your opportunity to really gain a lot of momentum. It's all about pressing play. It's every day taking an intentional effort to put like 5 minutes into your health, to your growth. And what you're going to find is some things are dropping, and that's okay. But some things you're going to be like, wait, like I sat with that and I thought about that. And that's your time. That's your time to go deeper. Listen again, get into the worksheets and start applying it. It's not to do it to just perform. Do it when you feel a sense of moving and presence, and make the most out of that. And that is how you get into being able to build the responses that you want. Because protection kept you safe and stagnant, but flexibility will help you to move forward. And when our emotions become aligned when we are stressed, then that inner CEO, mastering the inner game, starts to find its own cohesiveness as it is grounding as emotion comes up, allowing us to be in the present and above the soil and no longer getting stuck in the past in that primitive brain. And then what we're going to do is, now that we are grounded above the soil, tending to our garden and our fruit, what we're going to do is get into that prefrontal cortex. We're going to get into the executive function. We're going to be able to start making those leadership decisions. We're going to inner lead ourselves, which is going to allow us to now open ourselves up to self-awareness and start to lead others in those interpersonal connectedness. And then as we learn in interpersonal connectedness, all the different aspects of what the group dynamic is, how behavior is predictable in others, we start to become our own anthropologists and our own personal anthropologists. We're kind of stepping back and watching other people's histories come in, and we stop taking it so personally, and we start to see, oh, I get it. You do this because of this, and that has nothing to do with me, and bless your heart. Bless your heart. that that's how you feel like you have to come in. And now you have full control over yourself, your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings, your behaviors. You let go and gave distance so that other people can have their thoughts, their feelings, and their behaviors. And that is this dynamic shift that we're doing, where we are able to not only lead in our own lives, but lead others to the goals and visions that we have for ourselves and the communities we want to create. And if this is something that you want to do, I highly recommend getting into the paid subscriber. Get into these activities. We have a whole trademarked, rooted framework that we walk through that allows you to find that awareness, build that acceptance, and get action. Everyone gets awareness. Paid subscribers get a lot of exclusive content. They're getting acceptance and action, activities and reflections to take with them through the week. They're getting a free consultation. They get 15 minutes with me or Emma every week to really understand how to apply this knowledge. They're getting a lot of insight from a licensed mental health counselor who has 20 years of experience building groups and building worksheets so that we can individually apply some of these greater concepts to everybody. So go check it out. There's so much good stuff. Our thought for this week is what steps are we taking that's leading everybody else forward to join us on our journey? How are we managing our emotions so that we can create the distance to be able to own our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, and start noticing and getting curious of what other people are doing and allowing them that space? And that distance will do everything for us. I'm Jennifer Evans with Empowering Wellness Counseling Solutions. Thank you so much.